Alright, I'm going to start streaming.
Alright, all serious, put your mask on.
Does someone want to pull up the agenda?
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Scott?
There's an agenda.
There's an agenda. I wrote one. I tried.
Here we go. You're on.
Okay.
Hey, where is it for next year when you graduate?
Didn't send it.
Actually, I said go.
Should I? I'll sit on the couch.
Hey, you're nice, right?
Yeah, you're nice.
I don't want to sit on my POV
You're raised, you're raised. It's your wedding.
I broke up.
What?
Wait, really? Yeah.
Wait, are we live streaming?
Yeah,
What?
You're on live. You're live.
Oh, gosh.
You're live, baby.
Oh, no, everyone knows
Now
now.
0 people know.
Put what? Put it up
Where's-
on there.
We're not everyone. We're just five.
Oh, sweetie.
No, we're live.
The remote is like if anyone sees a Roku, let me know.
There was one right.
Roku.
Wait.
Hey, I have a Roku.
Actually, you can get the Roku remote app on your phone.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
I think it's HDMI 1.
Well,
I don't think so.
No,
Is this gonna be off of it?
It is. Yeah, it is right there.
and then go to the. So,
okay, you're on.
alright. Good job. Speaker? Yeah.
Gavel in the meeting at 4:08 p.m. So we have 7 present, 4 missing. No, 8 present. Who's the 8 present? Oh, right, my bad. We have 8 present, 2 missing.
So you have to pull.
Who's missing? 3 missing.
Who's missing?
Kalechi.
Aaron,
Yeah,
Kalechi.
Boomy.
and Boomy.
Yeah. So, everyone just go around and say your name and your position. And one thing, what?
Position.
All senators.
I know, for the live stream.
Say stop streaming.
It says stop.
Mhm.
We'll stop and start it again.
I should be somewhere in this room.
So give it a minute.
Let me text my friends.
Unacceptable.
It's a finance board summer meeting.
Well, you definitely know it's you because
What's
you're
your ancestors
We'll
say
fix
about
that
that?
later.
Shout out to my friends.
Would you rather
Be your best self.
would you rather record it and then like upload or no? Okay.
What?
Oh, classic.
Alright.
What was your last name?
I like your hat.
One more time?
That's a good
Is
look.
it from your grandpa?
Gaudian Legans.
Yeah, that's an. Did you say Julio or Enrique?
I don't know.
You said Julio.
I did?
He's old.
Julio Iglesias?
You said,
Yeah.
is
Isn't
it,
that Enrique's dad?
Yes.
he was a performer?
Julio Iglesias?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like.
Wow.
And he was. It was like.
This guy?
He like had like open shirt, white like a white open shirt half of the time.
Come
That's
on.
That's Enrique's dad.
Good job.
I need a haircut.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Hello, my name is Kai. I am a senator.
My name is Reese. I'm a senator.
I'm Sean, I'm senator.
I'm Jared, I'm a senator.
I'm Hidayah, I'm a senator.
I'm Ngoy, I'm a senator. I'm Speaker of the Senate, summer Speaker of the Senate.
I'm Scott. I'm the SGA treasurer.
I'm Brenda, I'm the president. Candace, advisor. Not on screen. Yeah, you're on the screen. Alright.
Okay. Alright, so now we're gonna have Brenda, you can come up and do your presentation on the budget.
Cool.
15 minutes.
So Scott's gonna go first.
Wait, don't we have to approve these?
You do have to approve the agenda.
Oh, my bad.
So, you need to ask if there's a motion on the floor for remove the agenda.
Motion, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Sean.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Move to
Move to approve
Hey,
the
Ryan.
agenda.
Seconded.
General consensus.
Okay, cool.
So since you all are new senators and this budget was passed by the last SGA, I'm just going to briefly go through so you guys are familiar with what you're voting on today. So just to quickly run through it, this right here is all administrative expenses. We can't really touch that. That's set by the university. You guys previously voted to remove the Senate allocation fund. We give $246,000 to SEB, $60,000 to the retriever, and the rest are for operations. This is general marketing and setup. This is one of the areas that we're going to be looking at today because it has been amended. For the election board. This is our marketing promotion, or that's the one that was edited. This is election board.
Hey, Scott, is this the original one or is this the amended one?
This is the original one,
Okay.
passed last year. Copier rental, office supplies, equipment updates. This is for programming support and usage fees. This is ECS. This is basically if you want to hold an event. This is the initiative fund, and that's if like you want to change something. So, like an example of that would kind of be like. What's an example?
Of the initiative fund? So it's kind of like non-event initiatives. So if you wanted to like install a charging station in Commons, or if you wanted to plant a tree somewhere, you know, things like that that are non-events. That's what that would be.
This was approved for the new finance board survey monkey. This is prove it. This is also being updated in the new amendment to the proposal. Stipends, of course, are being changed in the new proposal based off the SAFRB recommendation. And the rest are co-sponsorships with different departments or campus partners. Brenda's going to tell you how all of this is changing.
Yeah. So before I get into this, hopefully everyone got a chance to read through like the 18 paragraph thing I sent out about like what's happening with SAFRB. Should I do like a really quick recap, or do you feel okay? Okay, just for you, Rashad. So, the way our budgeting process works, the president and treasurer of SGA will write a budget for next year's administration. So last year, Colin and Carly, who are the president and treasurer, wrote the FY20 budget, which is the budget that our administration spends money off of. And then that budget has to go through Senate and Finance Board. They have to vote on it, they pass it, amend it, whatever, and then it goes to SAFRB, which is the Student Activities Fee Review Board. So that's a group made up of administrators, staff, a couple students, and they go through our budget, SCB's budget, and the Retriever's budget to make sure that we're, budgeting responsibly and that what we're doing makes sense, basically. So usually that process starts and ends in around March and April. This year it didn't because we made some major changes to stipends. So before, the president was making maybe 10 times as much as the senator, twice as much as the vice president and treasurer. It was just huge discrepancies across the board. And we were expecting a lot from Senate and Finance Board and not paying them enough for the work that we expected. So there were major stipend recalculations and increases, and SAFRB made recommendations that they would prefer that change happen more gradually. So that's why we're amending the budget today, because they let us know in July that they wanted to make those changes. So, any questions about any of that? Yes.
So just basically, this is a new proposed budget because stipends were too high.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So the way you're putting it right now, as I understand it, we're still gonna get to the same final stipend goal, we're just gonna take longer to get there.
Mhm.
Like,
Ideally, yeah.
So does this mean longer as in the amount of years or?
Yes. So the recommendation officially from SAFRB is that we spread out the increase over 3 years. And I'll get into this, but we're going to spread it out over 2 years instead. That's what we're proposing. Yeah. Any other questions?
So the actual stipend revised, or the revised stipends were done by you guys, not SAFRB, like the current, like what's in the amended budget?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So the original proposal is higher than what we're amending it to be. And we're going to re-present the amended budget proposal to SAFRB on the 13th.
So since the end goal is the same stipend, what was the reasoning for them to want to do it gradually, since in 2 years it's going to be the same stipend anyways?
Great question. So there were a few things. They said that they didn't believe students would have voted in favor of increasing stipends that much within 1 year. They were concerned about the fact that, so the way that Colin and Carly proposed stipend increases was to assign credit multipliers to each position. So basically they were like, for example, let's say the president works the equivalent of 14 credits, right? So 1 credit at UMBC costs $494. So they said, let's multiply 14 by 494, that's how much the president should make. So what SAFRB wanted us to do was to keep that multiplier system, but to gradually increase the credit multipliers instead of just making them 14. They were like, start at 11, then go to 12, whatever, then go to 14. Because tuition increases 2% every year. So that would kind of incorporate that increase. Does that make sense?
Yes, final question, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So does this mean that this increase in stipends will be continuous, like with 2% increase in tuition every year? Does that mean the stipends are going to increase every year as well?
Ideally, yeah. Yeah, about 2%. Yep. So the reason that we assigned it to kind of an outside metric was so that we're accounting for cost of living increases. So as tuition increases, people working in SGA would need to get paid more. So it kind of accounts for that. Yep. Any other questions?
I have a question. So, with the stipend increases, is it just like a rearranging of other fund allocations, or like I just never understood like how the increase happens? Like, where would you guys pull the money to increase the stipends, or was it just the multiplier that changed?
So the original, like Colin and Carly's proposal, it was a big increase within that. So they cut down on a lot of campus partnerships that we had been paying for a few years, but it kind of didn't make sense for us to be paying anymore. And they also reduced in operational costs in SGA. So things like equipment updates, maybe we don't need $5,000, we can do with $1,000. Like office supplies, things like that, they kind of cut wherever they could to make up for that. And even with those cuts, we're still pulling, I think, about $30,000 from our reserves.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, the previous Senate stipends were like $800 for the year. And then the speaker was like at 2,000. Assistant speaker was at like 1,500-ish, 1,200, and then the president was at like 7,000. So that's sort of where you have very big discrepancies.
Yeah. So if anyone's curious, the reason why that happened is because someone at some point was like, here's what a senator should make, right? And it was a random number. This was like years ago. And then they were like, okay, well, speaker should probably make twice that. So then speaker made twice that, and then they were like, okay, well, treasurer should probably make twice that. So it ended up that the president was making 10 times more than a senator, which doesn't make any sense. So, getting rid of that system.
Has this already been passed through finance board?
It goes
These
through finance.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep. So, I'm glad you brought that up. So, like I said, it has to pass through Senate and Finance Board through joint legislation. Senators have the ability to amend individual line items. So we're proposing certain numbers for each thing. You could all theoretically take a vote to change any of those numbers if you would like to. Yeah.
And this would have to go through SAFRB again.
Mm-hmm.
Finance board, then bring the science and
So it could happen that we could do this again, like in a month.
It is possible, but hopefully unlikely. Yeah, it's possible. And also, I mean, so it goes through if you were to amend it, it would go to the Finance Board, and then it comes to me for approval. So if you did anything weird, I can veto it, just so you know. But you do have the power to change it if you would like to. Any other questions? Clarification? No? Okay, awesome. So, these are the establishing points. So this is basically the assumptions that we had or we knew going into amending the budget. So we knew that SAFRB wanted us to implement a more gradual stipend increase, but we were concerned that if we did it over 3 years, we would be restricting whoever's writing the FY22 budget. So Colin wrote the FY20 budget, right, which is this year's. We're writing the FY21 budget, which we'll do in April. So we have control over these two, but not over whoever the next president is. And we didn't want to restrict them. So we knew that. We knew that if we had more money, we wanted to give it to the student organization pot. Finance Board has been allocating money to student orgs over the summer, and they had to make a lot of cuts that they didn't want to make. And so if we could add money to that pot, we wanted to. We wanted to increase executive branch officer stipends. They make about as much as a Senate and Finance Board rep used to make, which is, you know, around like $700, $800. But we expect the same level of work from them, if not more. And so how can we make sure that we're paying them a little bit more? We are canceling Prove It for this year for a lot of reasons, which I can get into if you're interested. But that gave us some extra money that we could also reallocate to other places in the budget. And we knew that we wanted to maintain the total amount that SGA is budgeting at $1.113 million. So that's, you know, if we're making money elsewhere, we want to reallocate that and keep the total amount the same. Any questions about any of those things? Awesome. Slide. Okay, so this is going to be a little math heavy, so bear with me. So the original proposal gave 14 credits worth of work to the president, 11 to the executive board, which is the executive vice president, the treasurer, and the VPSO. 7 credits worth of work to Senate and Finance Board, and then 1 additional credits worth of money to the leadership of Senate and Finance Board. So the chair, the vice chair of Finance Board, and the speaker and assistant speaker of Senate. So the problem that SAFRB had with this, again, is that it's a huge increase, especially for Senate and Finance Board. It's around a 400% increase. So they wanted us to implement it more gradually. So we are proposing meeting them exactly halfway from what they asked us to do. So we're reducing the multiplier for President, Executive Board, Senate, and Finance Board by 1.5 because they recommended that we reduce it by 3. And then we're decreasing the additional leadership stipend by half a credit.
Wait, they recommended to reduce the president by 3? When
Yeah.
it was already at 7,000?
So they wanted us to make the multiplier 11.
That is yes.
Why? Because then you're just, the president was already here, and then we put it there, and now they're like, no, they're here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because what I expressed to people in SAFRB is that we cared more about the discrepancy than the amount.
Okay.
And so I guess they took that and ran with it, but yeah.
That seems, I feel like we could negotiate that instead, but, okay, continue.
Yep. Is there any other questions about that?
No, I answered my own questions.
Okay, awesome. It's powerful. So, some big math. as Scott would say. So after decreasing the multipliers for stipends, we have about $16,000 left over. So this is the difference between the original proposal and the amended proposal. So we have $16,000 left to reallocate. We're eliminating the Prove It line, so that gives us $10,000. And then Prove It also has a marketing allocation, which is $1,500. So in total, after reducing the multipliers for stipends, we had around $28,000 of funds to reallocate to other places in the budget. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So I assume like the AD for Prove It would just be another person, or like it would be their role would be different.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we're creating a different position. Yes.
Why did we get rid of Prove It?
Great question. So, there's a few reasons. So Prove It actually hasn't happened in its entirety for the last 2 years. All the marketing happened and the application process happened, and then somewhere at the very end we just kind of left off and didn't pick a winner. So that's one reason. So for the past 2 fiscal years, that $10,000 has gone unspent, and it's just rolled back into our reserves, which is kind of a waste of student money. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is that the submissions that we got were less like physical campus change projects that you can really apply money to, and more just kind of general, like I feel like there's a mental health issue around campus. So the way that we kind of approach student engagement that way, I think we can incorporate it more into our everyday rules and not isolate it to a program that we're not going to spend money on. So yeah. Yeah.
So this is a question from last slide. So you guys are proposing a 1.5 credit increase per year for 2 years to meet at the original proposal, right? And this could continue on to whenever a new proposal is, proposed.
So I think we want to keep the multipliers the same once we get to like that 14, 11, whatever. But the stipends would increase because the amount of money that each credit costs increased 2% every year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean the actual like credit modifier would increase as well, or is it going to stay the same?
It stayed the same. Unless the amount of work expected increases, which I don't think it would.
So in the future, would a later, I guess, shape like have to change that modifier to match whatever their like tuition required is? Like,
Yeah, he was asking. The 14 wouldn't change, the 494 would change.
The 494 would change.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, is everyone good so far? Okay, awesome. Slide. So, we want to introduce the same multiplier calculation system for executive branch officers, just because it's more fair than using arbitrary numbers. And so we assigned, as you can see, the multipliers are a lot lower because we only have so much money that we can give them. But we have pay scales within the executive branch. So we have assistants, coordinators, associate directors, and directors. And we made these multipliers to kind of stay within the same realm as what was allocated for cabinet officers, but we did end up going over a little bit by $4,500, and so that difference was kind of covered by that $28,000 that we have to reallocate. Yeah.
So the assistant isn't a 1.2, the stipend that you have there is just a 1, not a 1.25. Which one would it be, 1.25 or?
So the way that we're using it in the calculations, it would be 1, just because the numbers work out that way. We are planning on paying them 1.25 once the budget passes, and then we're just going to over allocate all that line item by like $300.
Okay.
Usually that difference is made up because not everybody receives a full stipend.
Right.
That's only $300.
What does the coordinator do?
So there's like 12 different coordinator positions kind of within the executive branch. So Scott and Zane's team are paid at the coordinator level. There's coordinators within communications for like graphic design, social media, web design. There was a AD for or coordinator for Prove It, I think, that we're gonna change around. Yeah, they're just that level of, they would work under directors, basically. Questions, other questions? Alright. So, in implementing that multiplier system, again, we went over the original amount proposed for cabinet officers by around $4,500. So removing that from the total funds we have to reallocate, we're left at $2,300. Questions about that? Alright. So we were like, where's the rest of this money gonna go? We decided to increase marketing and promotional items by $2,000 because obviously we want to increase our marketing and promotion this year a little bit more, and that is a historically overspent line item. So that pays for things like Common Vision, it pays for SGA t-shirts, for pens, stickers, if we wanted to make like signs, pretty much all of that stuff would fall under there. So we decided to increase that. And then we had kind of an uneven number left, so we figured let's give some money to the initiative fund, especially because we're eliminating Prove It and we want to incorporate Prove It related ideas into our initiatives. Figured let's give them $1,300. And then we had $20,000 left, and we decided to increase the club budget line item by $20,000 to make up that difference. Questions about that? Yes?
So it's $20,000 going to club budget. So a lot of that is stipend money, or like would be stipend money in the future, right? So is the plan that in next year you're going to decrease club budgets? Because I feel like people will be really mad about that.
No. So it kind of depends. We don't know yet. It's not necessarily that by increasing in one place you have to decrease in the other. We might end up requesting more than $1.113 million. We're hopefully going to ask for a request in the student activity fee eventually, which would take place in a couple years. So it's not that cut and dry, but we would make up for it in other places. So, summary of what we did. And this is changes between the original proposal and the amended proposal. We're decreasing the elected officer stipends by a little bit. We're increasing the cabinet officer stipends by a little bit. Reallocating all Prove It related funds, increasing marketing and promotional items, slight increase to the initiative fund, and then an increase to club budgets.
So those 20,000 are going to club budget.
Yeah.
Is there any plan to reimpose Prove It in the future?
Maybe, but it won't be coming from me. Yeah. Maybe next year's president wants to bring it back. I don't know. It won't be me. Yeah. I do like the idea of an idea competition, so we might do something similar. But the way Prove It is set up right now, it's just, we thought that money would be useful as elsewhere. Yeah. Try out one. Okay, there's one more. So, here's a graph.
Whoa.
So as you can see, the graphs are very similar, but about 1% from programs and operations and about 1% from officer stipends moved into supporting student organizations. So that went up by like 2%. And it remains more than half of our budget. Yes.
Is this a historic high for club budget or no?
Yes. By a lot.
And then also historic high last year officer stipend for
Mm-hmm.
interesting optics there.
Yeah. So that red part, the 21%, that's the part of our budget that we have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes from student affairs.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
The club student work support includes club budgets, retriever, and SCP, correct?
Yes. All right. Do you want to show off the last slide? No. Okay.
What's
Scott
on the last
doesn't want to show you the
slide?
last one.
Got.
It's working. Thank you.
It's a picture of finance board working because some people work.
Wait, is this a new one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was over
It'll
the
be
summer, yeah.
all summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I want people to, in SAFRB to be ashamed. Yeah, so that's our proposal. Does anyone have any questions? Concerns? Yes.
The only concern I had was with the increase to the marketing and promotion of the SGA, but it was just SGA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you said more T-shirts, whereas like last year we had overabundance of T-shirts, pens, and stickers that we had to give away at, what's his face, the event.
Stress-free?
Yeah, stress-free zone.
We planned
What is the need for 2,000 extra in that when we had an overabundance of stuff last year?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know yet because we haven't hired our communications department. So I don't know what they'll have planned, but what we take out of that fund is not just the physical items, it's also paying for stuff at Common Vision and designs and posters and getting on iNet, which we could do a lot more of. So, yeah, go ahead.
And this is still a cut from last year. If you can see, FY19 is 5,000. It was proposed to be 1,500, but it's like a middle ground now of 3,500. So we're still 1,500 less than we were at last year.
Okay.
So I don't think we'll have as much of an overabundance.
Yeah.
For the people that have applied for the executive officer positions, have they been notified of stipend changes?
No. But we're going to update the website as soon as we know that this budget is passing the way it looks.
And then also, are there any efforts being made to notify incoming student body and last year's student body that the budget's been changed?
So the plan is to make that public as soon as SAFRB passes it. But Finance Board has been working over the summer, like I mentioned, and so they've been updating student organization leaders maybe once every few weeks to be like, hey, just to let you know our budget hasn't passed yet, and that's why we can't give you funds, but it will happen very soon. And so it is out there, but we'll be making posts on social media and on my UMBC to let everyone know what's going on.
So, do we have any comparison? Can we see FY19 stipends?
Yeah, give them there they are.
This is the number that you have to divide those by though. So Finance Board representatives were paid $746, as well as senators, like Jared said, and the rest.
So,
More individual.
do you think it would be too hard to negotiate to just keep the president's stipend the same?
I don't
Or do you
I don't
that
think
just
I-
wouldn't go over well? No?
Yeah, because the biggest problem is the discrepancy. It's not the amount. And so saying we'll keep president at 14, but let's lower everyone else is kind of a weird place to be in.
Well,
especially-
the rationale being was it was at $7,000 before, so it's like.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one we kind of based it off of, the multiplier in the first place.
Okay.
But
What about keeping the additional bonus for vice and or for assistant speaker and speaker and the equivalent of finance board
Chair.
at chair and vice chair at one additional credit instead of putting it at half? Because I do think that those positions warrant more than just half a credit increase, and I don't think that the halving of the baseline should necessarily affect that.
I mean, SAFRB didn't touch those, so yeah. That's your decision to make.
The rationale of even having it just at one credit is that we want people to take those positions because they want to do the work rather than for a pay increase. And with how it was before, where it was more than double what a representative or senator would make, it could have influenced the decision.
Isn't that based on the person?
But I mean, I think that the work is just, there's more work, so I think that they just deserve a little bit more pay, like, that's the rationale, and I don't think that I don't think that the work is necessarily equivalent to the increase in pay. Right, I think they're still doing more work than you would otherwise, or more than one extra credit of work, you know, probably would be equivalent of 3.
Yeah, just to like carry on to what Jared said, even if they do it for money, they're still doing work. And I don't think that's, you know, our call to say, oh, if you're doing it for money or not. Because as long as they do their job, it doesn't matter what motive they have.
I mean, it's kind of a good point, though, so. I don't know what you guys think.
Once we send them the budget to see if they approve of it or not, is it like that's the budget, or like you students have to go after?
No, that would be our budget. So, no one has any questions though for us on the effective one. Yeah, that's okay.
Isn't there 11 people in the Senate? There's 10.
The chair, the speaker and assistant speaker listed separately.
Oh, you saw me over there.
Yeah, because I saw 9 and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
okay.
It's 11.
Just go and speak pretty crazy. Like, the speaker was at
Yeah, we
2.2,
have
assistant speaker was at 1.1, and then normal senator's like 700.
There's 8 of us here and there's 2 missing.
Alright.
And then on the new, can you pull over the new one with
It's just FY20, but
yeah, well, I mean, like the new FY20 proposed.
what's this one?
Isn't that the amended proposal?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah, where you're on this one.
So, yeah. Now we're gonna go to the next item on the agenda. Will I just say motion and do it?
What's the next item?
It's, the joint legislation.
So, I think you can open it up for any discussion. And then you would move to legislation, and if people have amendments they would like to present to the budget, they can present those amendments, and then those amendments would be voted on. Then we can recommend them for the legislation.
Alright, so, would you guys like to discuss the budget? Let's take a vote. Raise your hand if you wanna discuss what we just heard about. Yep, alright, great.
Alright, so I'm probably gonna wanna amend the speaker, assistant speaker, and chair and vice chair stipends to be like 494 divided by 2, so like 247 more dollars or something like that. I think that's right.
We're talking about the modifiers.
Well, then that would be half of the modifier, so that would be additional full credit instead of half a credit for that position.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And it's for the speaker and assistant speaker.
And chair and vice chair. So their new stipends would be 494 times 2 divided by 2 plus 296. So 3,211.
What is their stipend right now with the SAP credit?
So, can we go back to
So the way that their stipends work is that it's the same as ours plus 1 extra credit. Well, but in this amended budget it's plus 1 or 0.5 credit, but I think that 1 credit's more appropriate.
So it's plus 200 basically. What do we have plus 200?
It would be like plus 250.
250.
It was at 1.5.
It's at half credit now, but we wanna
Just change it to a credit.
So essentially, we'd have to roll back our increases to the initiative fund from the market.
Right, and well, with the initiative fund, we had also, last year's budget, we had already put in, the reason that the Senate line item got zeroed out is because all that money went to the initiative fund. Because it was pretty much, like, we really, like, I literally tried to use it when I was speaker, and I couldn't use it because it was just so, it was so red taped off, so we moved it into the Senate initiative fund instead.
So with the increase of this chair, vice chair, yeah, where is the funds gonna be taken out?
The additions that are going into the Senate initiative
The
fund.
Senate initiative fund?
Or, not the Senate initiative fund, the initiative fund.
The initiative. Is the initiative fund for the entire SGA or just the
Yes.
Senate?
Is that
Right.
Doesn't the executive board control?
I think that's, you have to take $988 from that to make all that.
Wouldn't it be because you're adding a half to it?
So you're adding one full credit's worth.
Well, it would be 2 full credits worth, because it would be 2 vice,
Yeah.
vice chair.
For finance board and
Yeah,
chair.
I was thinking about like.
They're saying with all leads.
What's the money
Oh,
though?
So
yes.
they're all
Initiative
0.5
fund.
right now, they'd all go to 1.
Yes.
From
It'd be a total of 2 credits extra.
They're just combined.
It's
So
only
money
one.
from the initiative fund originally came from the Senate fund. Is that what you're asking?
Okay, so now.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So yeah, money from the Senate fund previously was moved to the initiative fund.
So now it's just everyone's.
Well, it would kind of be shared with, so the thing is, we couldn't even use the initiative fund, like, for initiatives. It was just kind of frustrating to do it
Which
all.
one, the Senate or the?
The Senate one, like the Senate one.
So could we, then, since we're here, could we make amendments to whatever it is restricting us from using the Senate initiative fund?
Well, that doesn't
There-
exist.
Yeah,
So
it's
we-
not completely zeroed out.
Oh,
So
we
not
tried
only
to
does
zero
it-
it out.
and then we
the
tried to
initiative
zero it
fund,
It's like I
you
wasn't
can
there.
use if you work with us.
We tried, and then the finance board shot us down, so.
So finance board's that, let's just put it all in one bigger pot instead? Is that what it was?
No, they're just like, we're
It's
not gonna
all-
let you move the tape, and then it's like,
Oh.
okay, well, might as well put it in that fund.
Is that making sense?
Yeah.
You would be able to use the initiative, you work with the executive branch. So, when you use the Senate initiative fund is now canceled. It's just a vacation.
And I mean, it still would be an increase because if you take 980 out of that, it would be like 400 extra than what you used to have. So it's still an increase, but not that much.
Right. Motion to amend the FY20 budget to change the line items of the legislative branch, the stipends for the Senate Assistant Speaker and Speaker, and the Finance Board Chair and Vice Chair, for their stipends to be, what was it, I think,
3211.
3211, yes.
Second.
Sorry, you never taught us Robert's rules.
It's coming, it's
Yeah.
coming. It's
Oh
unbelievable.
my
I
god.
think it's in motion.
Unbelievable.
Make it something, you pull it up.
Sorry, Jerry, it's 3, 4.
Wait,
5,
stop.
8.
Can you pull up?
It shouldn't be that much, it should just be half a credit increase.
Oh, I did it right.
Can you put the legislation on the screen?
Yes, that's right. There you go.
Number of senators for it. Okay, number of senators for it. Opposed? Abstained? Opposed and 3.
So that's for the amendment.
So did you change it from the budget?
Yeah.
You can do this.
Reese, why are you opposed?
I just think that the money towards the initiative fund could be better served, like by the student fund. That's just like my personal opinion. And I think that the hassle of rerouting money is just not worth, like, even just about like $100, like $200. Right.
Is there a reason why the chair and vice chair have the same stipend?
There have
There's a reason why they shouldn't.
I feel like church on more of it.
I mean, they kind of work together.
What, do the chair and the vice chair have the same stipend?
There's a lot more back end work with the vice chair.
Chairs.
If they do like,
I worked in a parking lot.
No, this is summer.
Because it's the summer AC. You just can't find in the faculty and staff.
Wait, so what's income people?
commuters.
But did you get a permit for the summer?
You can't
I
go
got
up
it
until
today,
like
so
August.
No, it's okay. The office
Who knows,
closes
bro?
at 3:30.
Who knows?
Yeah,
They won't
it's
tell
closed.
you. You'll get a
Oh,
ticket.
it closed?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
The police officer
Yeah,
came
they'll
up and
just
was
give
like,
you
"Don't worry,
like
the
a
office is
$40
closed at
ticket.
3:30, so you're
Motion to open parking signs.
No, they're
I got
they
it
close at
today. I
3:30.
don't even know
Oh,
why.
okay, that's good.
And I filled it and they said no.
You,
I got a parking
was it your
ticket.
first one?
I got mine like.
Yeah. I parked in the garage and I parked on the first floor and they say you can't park there.
Oh, yeah. Wait, the common garage you have to pay.
Yeah, but they
On
have
the
A
first
parking
floor.
too. But
What
I
do you
thought
mean?
the
Common
first floor was
garage?
A parking also.
First floor, yeah. All of those floors were like available.
That's what I thought.
Commuter.
Anybody else have anything else with the agenda?
So we don't have to write the amendment.
No, because I think it's just in the budget. So motion, not motion to. Is there a motion on the floor to? Is there a motion on, it's a small room, I'll say.
Maybe the people in the
Okay.
lab can't hear you. There's 3 people.
Wow, blowing up.
One of them's Francis.
One of them is.
My best friend.
Okay, move to approve JL 01 dash, wait, can I do it?
Yeah.
You can.
Am I not supposed to?
I mean, you can if you want. Typically, you open it up the floor and then ask, and then somebody, I'll ask somebody else to start. No, you don't fine. It's fine, you don't have to follow it. You don't have to follow it.
Somebody else like to make a motion?
How do you do it?
You want to do it?
You just say it.
I've never done it before.
Yeah, you want to do it?
Like say it, so.
Wait, what?
You just say move and then say dash.
Is there a motion to approve? Wait, to move.
You
to
just say,
approve.
you
That's
say,
what
I
you said.
move to approve.
Move to approve.
That name.
Okay, I move to approve JL 01-1920.
Second.
Huh?
Call for a vote. All those in.
All those in favor?
Chris says, what is that?
Opposed?
Yeah, he is.
Zero.
Sexy arm.
Abstaining, 0. Present, not present, 3.
How do you vote?
4, 8.
8.
8.
Not present. With that, the motion passes.
And with that, the motion passes.
You passed the motion.
Good job, legislation.
Good job, guys.
Cool.
Alright, up next on the agenda, if anyone, any senators have any updates they'd like to give? Oh, sorry.
Okay. Just a quick update. So we have the SGC student governance committees. I'm sure y'all got my email. I'm trying to like organize like times and viewpoints and everything. Yada yada yada. There is one committee that we need people as soon as possible. It's the academic conduct committee. It needs 4 student members. The reasons why we need them as soon as possible is because they just have a lot of stuff that they need to get done. the meeting times haven't been established because they want to know who can come, and then they will establish a meeting time. I know. Anyways, so since I have the majority of you here, does anyone want to be on this committee? I will also be on it, so I need 3 other people.
What are the responsibilities?
The responsibilities include going every week.
What do they do on that committee?
The meetings, I'm sorry?
What do they do on that committee?
Let me pull it up.
Is this for the summer?
How many
This is for the fall and for the whole year.
When
Academic
does it
year.
start?
It starts when the academic year starts.
This is the academic content.
This is under Senate. I copied a lot of the policy I have.
Wait, which committee is this in?
It's the
It's the academic
academic conduct.
conduct committee. That's correct. Yeah.
So that's gonna be like judicial board for academic dishonesty stuff. And then
Well, let me
that,
double check.
that's my understanding.
Yeah, academic conduct. So I need 4 student members. Okay. Ty, Rashad, Sean.
What time it is?
You want time? So you're tentative?
Okay, they'll make
They'll make the time around
We'll make
you.
it scheduled.
Who you want.
Okay.
I mean, I'll throw my hat in.
Awesome. Did anybody else want to be in it, by the way? Because I could trade my position as well.
That's a lot of, all right, a lot of men on
It's
that.
a lot of men.
Mm.
Want to go ahead?
I think we have 4. Any other updates?
That's where Mom's speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked on, so we actually have a private server that serves at apps.sga.umc.edu, and we have a GitHub.
Excuse
So we
me?
have,
What does that mean?
Explain.
so we have a separate subdomain, so we have apps.sga.umc.edu. So we have the ability to serve our own applications that are custom made. So we have, the SSL cert has expired.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I contacted them about that. You can just, there's nothing, it's not exterior data. And so what we can do then is we can create our own application. So I've taken the liberty to create a few, and that map is a fun one.
What is the, okay, did you email me this too?
Which one?
This whole thing?
No, I did not.
Okay. This phone scanner thing?
That one's interesting, yeah, if it works. It works. It works.
What does that do?
So
What?
you can use your phone to
Yo!
use your phone camera to scan UMC IDs.
And then drop them into what?
It automatically saves it to a Google Sheet on your Google Drive.
What is it for? What will it be?
Stop it.
So then you can upload it to my UMC, and then it automatically gets
Stop it. Stop
attendance
it.
for events.
Have you told anybody about this?
Well, it's still in development.
Did you develop it?
I did.
You're the genius.
Reese!
Wait, what was this? Sorry.
Sorry for the corner.
What are you yelling about?
So he has developed
Scanner.
an app that uses your
I
phone
know,
as a
he's a
scanner.
genius. I'm so proud of you.
Reese, why aren't you working for Do It yet?
Reese
These
is
two
Because
working
I'm
for
into senator stuff too.
Ugh, this is a lot.
Senator
Hold on.
stuff. Can we see?
What is it? What access on my
So what
So,
happens
like,
is
I'm so
it-
excited.
Instead of like the thingy.
Because
Yes.
it accesses
I assume
your
it's
shared
like-
files, so it says if someone else shares you the document, you can all scan and it'll add to the same spreadsheet at once.
That's really cool.
How'd you get the encoding for the cards?
So it's like it's just like called Codabar, and then it like it just scans whatever this is, and then you have to upload it yourself. So I don't.
And that's fine
exactly
because they
right.
do that already with
My
the
UMC
little
like
scanners.
scanners.
You
Yeah.
have to upload it yourself.
Exactly.
So this would be something replacing the thingy?
Then you
It's
wouldn't
just
have
to
to buy
parallelize
the,
it more. And
well,
like,
you don't have to buy the scanner.
yeah.
Use it
They're
anywhere you can do it, right?
expensive.
Yeah, but like,
All
it's
those
like
things,
really
yeah.
the minus is it's kind of slow because it's web based and it's camera, so like it's
So
there's pros and cons, yeah.
We should reallocate the scanner.
The hand scanner. So like it's not replacing a hand scanner, but it's like if you weren't gonna use a scanner before, now you have the ability if you want to. And it's not
But could I, hold on, it could be like I don't have to buy the scanner?
correct, yes. So it's like kind of wonky right now. So I'm working on it. If anyone else there's a few computer science majors in SGA, so if anyone wants to help.
I don't even know how to use
So
that.
it's free now.
I have a question.
that would be probably
Pay a lot.
Would there be like any concerns, like security
It sort of is
concerns?
giving me a.
Not necessarily, because it's just it goes all through Google, so all Google handles all the security.
install
I'm
the
getting
scanner.
stuck in a permissions circle.
Do you guys want to talk about this after?
Yeah, we can talk about it after. So that is something that
And this is the only barcode.
What's on the live stream?
Come on, you're the speaker, put those.
Alright,
Yeah, shut me up.
Yes.
Alright,
Yeah,
any
so
more,
like
any
kinda
more
slow,
updates?
but-
Sorry, Reed.
Yeah, so that there's a couple of apps there you can look at later, and so I
Shameless plug.
don't know if we want how we want to advertise that, if SGA wants to advertise that at all, or make sure maybe do some quality control to check if it. But that's something that if anyone wants to add to look into and develop more things, we can always do that. But it kind of like works-ish. It's like really it's like slow because it's a browser. I'm still working on the kinks. And then I had like a little application before too called Tags, which is like transit activity guides. And so I just converted that to a web page. So that if you go to sg.umc.edu/initiatives/tags, or if you just go to the homepage and go to initiatives and tags, it shows locations on the transit stops that you can go to on Google Maps. So, and then it also shows you where you are in location to the other stops. So you can be like, oh, can you stop me here? And then they're like, okay. Yeah, I did it. I asked Daniel for current up-to-date route maps, and he gave them to me. So. This is all that stuff. So.
Is it working together, or is it like separate?
We have their support and we have their information, but like technically it's like it's student run. It's sourced by people I know. I'm like, oh, do you know anything to do here? And they're like, okay, just.
Are you interested in working like together?
How so? I mean, technically, like there's nothing else for them to work with. They've sent us their resources, and we're just dealing with whatever we have there. Yeah, so that's what I have no life, so that's what I've been doing.
You said there was another app you
There's an app map.
made? Snap.
Can we talk about apps afterwards?
Yeah, we can talk about apps afterwards. We're gonna talk about the whole day. No, I did not create the app map.
Are there any other updates other than Maxine? Sean?
I mean, I've met with Chloe Terrell and Vlad Rodriguez. They're both from UCSS. Talked about my initiative, which is going to try and reach out to commuter and transfer students to see what SGA can do to make them feel more included in SGA campus activities. And I plan to meet with Bruce Herman, who's the director of the VHS and the Counseling Center soon, as well as Lola, who is part of the academic transfer and engagement programs. I saw that we copied on Dr. Silas, and he hasn't responded yet. I don't know. I might be meeting with him. I don't know.
Yeah, he just wanted students, so they're interested in starting a commuter student association.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need students to start, so that's why.
There we go. Commuters.
Yep.
Commuter. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, great. Alright, any announcements?
Right. So just a couple things to watch out for. Retreat's happening soon. Yay, it's gonna be so much fun. Don't look too excited. Yes.
I had a question. So when do the early move-in pickers?
Did you fill out your form?
I did.
Then you should be fine.
Boy, I can just move in whatever.
No, so you'll be able to move in
The 20th?
the 20th at 5 or 6, something like that. Because we have retreat on the 21st at 8:30. For sure. It is the first part is on campus, and then
We're
the rest
going to
is off
Stack
campus.
Your sweet mate
I
moves
love
out
that.
again. Can we know?
We're gonna send out an email with like a packing list and like stuff
Working
that
on
you
it.
should have.
I love that.
So, yes, but keep an eye for that. And also, welcome week signups are gonna come out to you soon. Yep. So all of those events are on your calendars already. But those are things that SGA officers should be at, and also they're fun, so you should go anyway. But we'll send out like a sign up thing so that we can make sure officers are at all of them at all times. So keep an eye out for that. That's it. Yes.
When are we going to determine what the event is?
That is a Francis question, so ask Francis.
What's the real question?
What?
Like, what is the welcome week event?
Yeah. Like the SGA.
Mystery night.
It's like a Scooby-Doo theme thing. Yeah.
Did you see that?
It's cute.
Can we apply for it?
No, she only sent it to steering committee.
Oh, oops. See, I
You're
want to
part
see
of an
it.
exclusive
I'll leak it.
listening.
Possibly, yes.
I'll leak that joint. Alright,
Leak it in the Senate slip.
It's kind of cool.
Are there any more announcements? What?
Nothing, I'm very proud of you.
What?
Don't mind me.
Okay, I adjourned this meeting at 5:08 p.m.